This is the plaintiff, Joey Arnold. He says he was walking his 6-year-old Shih Tzu Teddy on a leash on the Schuylkill River Trail in Pennsylvania. And when he crossed paths with the defendant's leashed pit bull, the thing lunged at poor little Teddy and bit his tail. Teddy was bleeding. The defendant said to send her the vet bill. The defendant hasn't paid him the $1,322.92 she owes. It's been 4 months, and he wants his money. So he's suing. This is the defendant, Tamira Pugh. She says her dog did nip the plaintiff's dog's tail. But the only reason that happened was because the plaintiff wasn't practicing safe social distancing. That's right. He and his dog came within 6 feet of her and her dog. They broke the rules. That's what happens when you break the rules. She is accused of taking a bite.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Arnold, what happened? You're out taking your dog for a walk, and what happens here?
I was taking him out about 4 to 6 in the evening, and that's usually when he gets his afternoon walk. And just about 100 yards from my apartment, so it's an easy place for Teddy to go, for him to sniff around, use the bathroom, and go back to my apartment to kind of get some air. And I was taking him over there. I was walking on the sidewalk.
What kind of dog is this?
Shih Tzu.
Okay.
And I was walking him on the same side where I noticed 2 people with a pit bull. And naturally, I'm a little bit wary with pit bulls because I don't really know how well trained the animal is. So I'm trying to move diagonally because there are people on the sidewalk. So naturally, there are people walking forwards and with me and against me. So I see an opening to kind of move diagonally away from the pit bull. So as I'm moving, I'm walking towards straight forward, letting Teddy sniff instead of yanking him away. And we're gradually moving away. The pit bull lunges out as Teddy is crossing as Teddy and I are crossing the sidewalk, and nips Teddy, pulls Teddy back. And Teddy's sitting there it's kind of like a tug of war with Teddy in the middle. And if you could imagine a rope, there's a rope and his body would be the red flag. And he's sitting there, he yelps. I've never heard him yelp that loud before in my life, as long as I've had him. And he screeched and he's just dangling in the air. And I'm pulling the leash and the owner is trying to get the dog to let go of Teddy's tail. And at that point, I finally got, they finally got control of the dog. And then I'm able to look at Teddy. And the thing is, he's bleeding a little bit. I could see a little bit on his hair. And the thing with Shih Tzus is that they have a lot of hair on their tail. So I really couldn't see it that well. And I was scared it might get infected. And so she gave me her contact information. And so I decided, I text her the next day, hey, I cleaned my dog. I see this spot where he was bitten. I got taken to the vet. She tried to talk me down in a way you can see in the initial text. And I said, the vet is a professional.
How? What do you mean?
Just saying, he's probably
a bit tell you sore. It's not necessary? Yeah.
It's not necessary,
okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I saw through that, and I initially just said the vet needs to go ahead and determine what's going to happen. And she agreed in that first text. You can see in her first response, she does say, either way, just send me the bill. Then the next day, I asked her, for the documents for the dog, because my vet is asking for that information from me. I wouldn't ask for the information. The vet's not asking it from me. And I actually have another statement from my vet where she explained that she did contact Tamara, and then she explained the situation. She contacted Tamara, who she contacted, and then it explains each one of the medical visits that Teddy had to go back, each one of those vet's visits.
Okay, so they wanted the dogs, they wanted to know if the dog was immunized and everything, if the dog had the rabies shots and all that?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am,
and did she call your vet and tell your vet that?
No, ma'am, she never got the information. That's what caused them to err on the side of caution for that first exam, because they weren't really sure what the dog necessarily had.
How many times did you take the dog to the vet?
3 times. The first time was because the tail was infected because the dog had his mouth wasn't clean, it bit Teddy, so naturally it created an infection. So Teddy had to fight that. He had medication for that. Then I had to go ahead and take Teddy to the vet again because they requested it to go ahead and see how his tail was. And they thought it was kind of bad considering he still wouldn't curl his tail up. It was still tucked between his legs. And so they ran x-rays to go ahead and say, okay, he's fine. The third, when his tail was curling back up, he was still sensitive.
Stop talking
in the
one
air.
moment. Can I ask you a question, Ms. Pugh? Was your dog current on his rabies shots or her rabies shots?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Well, then why didn't you just give that information to the vet? Why would you?
Because
the vet
I
ended
didn't-
up reporting
first
you
of-
to the state.
I didn't talk to his vet at all. He was asking for the rabies
This
shots. I
vet
said, my
says
dog-
that she contacted you on 4/27 and left you a message that you needed to show proof of vaccination since it's a deadly disease for dogs and people, and that if you don't, she's gonna need to report you. And you didn't call back, so they reported you. So did you get a message and just not return the call?
I never got the message. I never got the message at all.
All right, let me ask you a question. You tell me what happened from your perspective that day.
So my perspective is, I sent you pictures of where I was at. My girlfriend was fixing my waist trainer on the pole.
Were you stationary, like you were standing there?
I was standing there on the side, not even on the road. We're on the grass, on the dirt, as I sent the pictures. Right
Okay,
there.
this says
That's where I'm
pool,
standing.
but I think you meant pole I had my back against so Teresa could fix my waist trainer. Okay, so is it accurate she was leaning on that pole? Or she was by the side and her friend was doing something, fixing, what's a trainer?
A waist trainer, which goes around your stomach while you're exercising.
Uh-huh. What to do?
So it was slipping.
What is it, like a weight?
A weight? Yes, it keeps your waist snatched. It keeps you nice and trim.
Okay, so is it accurate that her friend was like messing with her trainer or whatever and that they were against the pole?
She was against the pole, not her friend. The thing is, the dog was, the important thing was that the dog was sitting right on the edge of the sidewalk. So it's like, it wasn't.
Is the dog on a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. She was on a metal leash.
Okay, was it a retractable leash or it was a solid,
No.
Right.
No, it's a solid leash. It's only 5 foot. I sent you the pictures. I actually put my hand inside the pink part to hold the leash when I'm holding Roxy. So she couldn't even bend more than 4 feet away from me, because that's how big the leash is.
Right. It's a little, well, I guess with your hand on it, it would be, right. Here's what I'm trying to understand is, when did this happen, Mr. Arnold?
April 25th, around 5 o'clock.
Okay, so we were well into COVID. She's standing stationary against the pole with a pit bull, and you're in motion, and you're walking, and you see the pit bull, and you don't like hustle over to the other side. You're letting her sniff. Like, in other words, you walked your dog on a leash right up to where her dog was on a leash too. Tell me what she did wrong. What did she do wrong? Because remember, we don't punish the dogs. The dogs are animals. They do whatever's instinctive for them. So what the law punishes is the behavior of the humans and the way they handle their dogs. Every dog owner has to be in control of their dog, which means on a leash. Every place has leash laws, or most places do. And either way, in control. Sometimes you could have your dog on a leash and still not be in control because you're walking your dog right by other people and your dog bites them. The thing is, she wasn't walking. She was stationary against the pole. You're doing the walking, and you are walking clearly within 52 inches of her because that's how long her leash is. So you're not 6 feet away. So what's up with that?
Well, the funny thing is that she wasn't even the one holding the leash. Her friend was the one holding the leash. That's the first issue. But to go on to the next point is that I was...
But her friend's also not moving. Her friend is fiddling with her. Her friend's fiddling with her trainer.
The issue is not that her friend, like, she was fiddling with something else, but her friend was sitting there with the dog at the sidewalk. And the thing is,
she's sitting.
Teddy was
all right,
when
so
he
wait a minute. She's not moving, and the friend's not moving, because the friend's sitting, and she's standing, not moving. So if that's the case, I got an idea. Why don't you not walk Teddy so close to a pit bull, especially since you're supposed to be 6 feet away no matter what? Why are you letting Teddy sniff and get close to a pit bull such that the pit bull can bite? Because when pit bulls bite, you're lucky that this ended up being what it is. What it ended up being was a wound that had to be cleaned, some follow-up care, and that's $800 and something right there. And then you're also suing for therapy for Teddy to the tune of $495 because Teddy is now intimidated or, and according to you needs therapy. Wow, it just sounds to me like maybe this was a really good reason to keep your distance socially 6 feet away because the leash wouldn't have reached and the dog wouldn't have reached. Why are you so close to her when she's not moving?
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. The plaintiff says that he wants his vet bills paid because the defendant's dog lunged at him and his dog, injuring the animal. But the defendant says the plaintiff broke the rules, and this is what can happen if you violate social distancing. Let's listen.
So the thing is, the dog was closer to the sidewalk, because I keep explaining, like, the thing is, I'm in the middle of the sidewalk. I can't move with people moving backwards and forwards. Like, people ride bikes and everything. So that's why I said I was moving through that gap, the gap that I saw that I wouldn't cause Teddy.
I got an idea. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Don't keep walking. Don't keep walking right into the pit bull's lap. Don't do that. You see? Douglas, where do you think this is going?
Seems to be going in an opposite direction than we normally see.
Yeah. I mean, no offense. The pit bulls are great. Their owners usually, are maybe not so hot. It's always a pit bull that escapes. It's always a pit bull. It's not on a leash, But what did she do? So it's nothing wrong with the dogs. Please don't send me emails. But what did she do wrong? She didn't do anything wrong. She's not even moving. You're bringing Teddy, and mercifully it wasn't worse than it was, right near a stationary object. Because there's bikes going. The other thing you could have done is just waited and been more vigilant and tried to be 6 feet away from people. That's what you could have done. So based on what I am listening to, I'm very sorry, but I am ruling in favor of the defendant in this case. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Well, it didn't work out for the plaintiff in this case. Let's see what he thinks about it. Mr. Arnold, tell me, what's your reaction to the judge's decision?
I don't think it was actually fair at all, honestly, because the thing is, they're trying to verify and say that I was not within 6. I was within 6 feet. With it being that crowded on the Schuylkill River, I was trying to move around everybody without really approaching too many people. So the issue is, a trained pit bull or a trained animal does not lash out on another animal. My dog didn't incite anything. He didn't do anything. It's a Shih Tzu versus a pit bull. That dog lunged, got halfway on the sidewalk, and actually bit my dog and pulled him back. Like, that's exactly what happened. I think it's absolutely unfair. And I'm not pleased.
I'm sorry, but the judge found against you on this case. Ms. Pugh, let me ask you how you feel about it. I'm sure you're sorry, but what do you think about the case?
I'm sorry his dog got bit, but I'm very happy because he was definitely in my space. He's not supposed to be 6 feet within me during COVID or the Pennsylvania law leash.
All right. Well, listen, congratulations and thank you very much. So that'll bring this case to a close. Now, let's join Judge Milian and her husband, John, who's also a judge, for another session of After the Verdict.
This case seemed to hinge on the issue of social distancing to a great extent to you.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
And yet,
but it's also common sense, isn't it?
I suppose so.
If she had been moving, maybe it would have been different because then they're both moving and they're both up, but she is stationary and her friend is sitting.
Right.
And hopefully, people are just more careful, sure. Especially now during COVID, where these places where everybody's piling on top of each other, maybe that's not such a great idea, COVID or otherwise. But
not during a pandemic.
No, and not near a pit bull.
Well, here's hoping Teddy gets over this and does okay going forward.
JJ from Washington State wants to know, how can the People's Court do cases from different states in the country? Don't states have different laws? That's a great question. And what we have done for many, many years in the People's Court, my gosh, I can even say decades, is we will use the law that applies in the particular case. So if we have a case that we're litigating in Connecticut, but the litigants are from New York, we're going to use the New York law to decide who's right and who's wrong. So it's all based on the laws of the individual states. And you can see, if you watch the show over time, that sometimes those laws vary. And that will do it for this case. Litigants are in the courtroom for the next case.